have a little, listen, all this economic stuff, it's bullshit, whatever. It is what it is. This conversation's way over my head, way over my pay grade. I want to have a little fun. I want to do what I sometimes do on This Week in Dumbmocracy. We find a clip from the news cycle and what happened in the news this week, and we talk about it and react to it. And who better to do that with than our buddy Rick?
What up? How's things, guys? How you doing?
Things are doing great, man. Ross keeps telling me we got to keep getting you on the show.
Wait, this is Ross's idea? Dude,
yeah.
Checks in the
I've
mail.
been begging him. I was like, we got to get Ravishing Rick Robinson back on here. I know you go by Rowdy. I prefer Ravishing.
Well, that's because you're probably a former wrestling fan and you're thinking of Ravishing Rick Rude. That's okay.
Rick Rude.
There you go.
I'm good with that. But yeah, no. Anyway, checks in the mail. Just don't cash it till the second Tuesday of next week, okay?
Absolutely. So one of the things I do, and Rick generously broadcasts a lot of these videos on KLRN radio on X and brings the numbers. Let me tell you something. He brings the heat. So I don't know if you guys saw what happened in Congress today involving Kash Patel before the House Appropriations Committee with Congresswoman Madeline Dean, who was on the J6 Commission.
I've heard about it. I haven't seen it because I think it was happening while I was broadcasting. So
good. This got heated, and I'm going to get myself out of the logo here. We're going to play the clip, courtesy of Forbes Breaking News on YouTube. Be sure to give them a like and a follow. The discussion turned heated when Madeline Dean was given her time to speak here. That's all I'm going to say, and going to let it play out.
Thank you, Chairman Rogers, Ranking Member Meng, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member DeLauro.
But I do want to preface it by saying this. The first half of this is not any questions whatsoever. It's just Madeline Dean's soliloquy. So bear with it. And if you guys want me to stop it at any time to say something, just let me know.
And thank you, Mr. Patel, for your testimony and for being here today. I've been looking at the President's 120-word FBI budget request, the so-called skinny, I'll call it Ozempic request, that states that, quote, the undoing of the weaponization of the FBI is one of the administration's top priorities. The weaponization of the FBI is something that deeply concerns me. It should concern all of us. And yet, since taking office, President Trump has been on a revenge tour. He has targeted individuals, universities, law firms, with executive orders to cut them out or to make them come under his will. He has used ICE to disappear U.S. citizens without due process, and he's fully ignored a unanimous Supreme Court order, and then over the weekend wasn't sure if he was obligated to uphold the Constitution.
And that goes back to one of those sound bites I was talking about, Ross, from the weekend. He never said that. He actually said the smart thing about talking about an issue that is complex constitutionally and how he has to talk to his lawyers and consult with them in order to understand what specific processes do. But
well, he didn't. I don't want to get bogged down here because I agree with you. But Trump was unprepared for that question, which is kind of astonishing to me because a lot of people on our side of the aisle seem not to be prepared for that question when asked, are illegal immigrants, should they be afforded any due process? Yes, and they are, right? But due process doesn't mean a jury trial. That's where people are confused, and even Trump got kind of stumbled up in there. He said, well, I got to consult my lawyers.
I got one better for you.
They are afforded due process. They have been afforded due process.
I got something better for you. How about this? Due process is due when there's going to be a deprivation of something, a deprivation of rights, a deprivation of property, life, liberty, property, things like that. That means you're getting some sort of penalty as a result of some action you did. The Supreme Court has held that deportation is not a punishment. It's not a penalty. It's an administrative process by which you determine whether or not that person should be in the country or back in their country of origin. Due process and First Amendment rights and all that stuff, it comes into play to the extent that you get to redress the issue and have your voice heard. But it's not the due process that we're thinking of when it comes to criminal court or even civil court, really. And I think people need to know that as well. But just the fact that she's mentioning the 9-0 decision that really was in Trump's favor, in my opinion, when we analyzed it. I'm not going to go into all that. But this preamble is what I hate, Rick, from all these members of Congress on these committees. I don't care what side it is. I hate when they go into shading facts and giving their own perspective and point of view in this preamble before even asking something and finding information. Because the purpose of these hearings, in my opinion, is to get and give information.
Well, I mean, to use a term you're familiar with, this is what we call grandstanding.
Yeah, it
But
certainly
is. And that's really all it is. I mean, the thing about it is, I know you said you weren't going to go too far into this, but that decision that they tout so much was that Trump must, if the ability provides itself, facilitate his return to the country. Now that he's not in the country, it's not up to Trump whether he comes back or not. It's up to the president of El Salvador. If the president of El Salvador says, yes, he can come back, at that point, the president should facilitate his return, do a touch and go, and send him absolutely anywhere else. But unless or until that happens, he doesn't have to do anything because there's nothing to facilitate because there's nothing to facilitate.
Yeah, absolutely. The Supreme Court changed the language of Judge Zinnis's ruling about effectuate and facilitate and changed it to just facilitate. Because they know they don't have jurisdiction over El Salvador to make them do anything. You're absolutely right in that. Here we go again, pal. We're making a 6-minute clip into like a 45-minute diatribe. So
it happens every time I'm on. I don't know why you're surprised by this.
You know what? This is true. Russ, why didn't we think of this? We got to blame Rick.
Oh, that's why I asked to have him on. Because you normally
There you go. All right. All right, back to the clip.
Of the United States. In your book, your recent book, Government Gangsters, you include an appendix with a list of names that people have referred to as an enemies list. Now, I know you will claim it's just an appendix, not an enemies list. So let's focus on how the president sees it, on what the president calls it. And you proudly display his quote on the front cover of your book. The president calls this a brilliant roadmap, a blueprint. And I have not even raised your storied children's book, The Plot Against the King. It concerns me how many people from this blueprint have been targeted with executive orders and FBI investigations. The FBI cannot be weaponized, and under your leadership, it has been nothing but a weapon alongside the president to go after the president's perceived opponents, to stifle dissent and free speech.
It's almost as if she's talking to the FBI director under Biden, because that's when it was weaponized.
Bro, if Donald Trump started rounding up Democrats and putting them in prison or worse without trial, I would cut him a break. If anyone has been the victim of a weaponized government, a weaponized DOJ, and weaponized state governments, it is Donald Trump. The hypocrisy coming from any Democrat is stunning. Where is this revenge? I haven't seen a single Democrat in handcuffs yet, right? I'm waiting for that. Until Trump gives me vengeance, I might regret voting for the man. Someone needs to get locked up.
I agree. Cash Patel knows a little something about weaponization of government as well. And the response, which is coming, I promise it's coming sooner or later, is epic. And once he starts talking, I'm shutting up and just letting Cash drive.
A few weeks ago, as we saw through a social media post that you quickly deleted, the FBI arrested a judge in Wisconsin for correctly asking ICE officials if they had a judicial warrant instead of an administrative warrant, which they did not have. Despite this judge following the law, on the morning of April the 25th, the FBI arrested the judge in an escalation of the weapon.
Can you mute that for a second?
Yeah.
As somebody that used to wear a badge, federal agencies used to come into our courthouses in Bigfoot all the fucking time. It didn't matter if they had a warrant because they were federal agencies. Even the administrative warrant would have been enough. It's
and
just how
is selectively editing out the fact that the judge has allegedly ushered this violent illegal immigrant, and his lawyer out the back door of the courthouse, resulting in a foot chase outside the courthouse, guns drawn, and eventually catching this person outside. She's leaving all that out, Ross.
Yes, which, according to Tom Holman, are felonies. Impeding ICE or harboring an illegal immigrant are felonies under federal law, right? It's not that she was following Wisconsin law. Wisconsin law might say something like, yeah, we will not take off our handcuffs and put federal agents' handcuffs for an administrative warrant in our courthouse. But I guarantee you, Wisconsin state law doesn't say we sneak people out through the judge's chambers and back door to avoid federal agents who are outside waiting for them. No other citizen gets that benefit of the doubt, right? If you are wanted by the federal government for tax evasion, I don't think the Wisconsin law would allow you to sneak out the back of their courthouse if there were IRS agents waiting for you outside.
You know, the funniest part about her making this little soliloquy part right here is the fact that the very now liberal Wisconsin Supreme Court ousted the very same judge that she's pontificating for right now.
Yeah.
And so,
basically took her off the bench while this is all pending. Absolutely. Now we get to the fireworks.
Weaponization of the FBI under your leadership. Let me be clear. A functioning democracy does not lock up judges. I am gravely concerned about the utter lack of independence of the FBI and its weaponization under your leadership. I am concerned that the president is using this book, your book, as a blueprint, as he has said. It's a blueprint for revenge. And I am concerned that your eagerness, a childlike giddiness to carry out the president's revenge tour, you've shown yourself to be unserious in your statements before you were sworn in and some after. You've shown yourself unfit to lead this important agency. I was an impeachment manager for President Trump's second impeachment. It was a sad, solemn duty. And so I wanted to ask you about that. Mr. Patel, as you and the president continue to weaponize and investigate his perceived enemies, as you follow this blueprint, when can I, a former impeachment manager, expect the FBI at my door?
Galloway, I want your answer to that question before we talk about Patel's answer.
Well, first of all, did she just call a person of color childlike?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I caught that. That was odd. A white woman calling a person of color. I thought we were not allowed to do that. Okay, I'm going to let that one go, I guess.
But listen, Rick, my answer would be, would you like to set up an appointment, or would you rather us just come knock?
My answer would be they'll be waiting for you by the time you're done speaking, madam.
Would have been great to.
Well, I would have asked her, have you no shame? You just went on a diatribe talking about the politicization of the DOJ. The impeachments were 2 hoaxes. He wasn't convicted in either one of them. He was acquitted, actually. And the DOJ went after Donald Trump, and all those cases got dismissed, right? You said we don't lock up judges in a functioning democracy, but we lock up our political opponents? Is that a functioning democracy, according to the Democrats?
Yep. Listen, all good answers all around. Cash Patel, Director Patel. Someone should have called 911 during his answer because...
Hello, 911. I'd like to report a murder.
Pretty much. Take a listen.
Ma'am, you want to know who was targeted by a weaponized FBI? Me. You want to know how and why?
Well,
you want to know what I'm doing to fix it?
That. Let me move on.
Well, you should read the book because there's no enemies
So-
list on that book.
So
There are
you-
people that violated their constitutional obligations and their duties to the American people,
That's good. You
and they
gave
were
them due
rightly
process.
called out.
I'm
And
changing
you should
topics.
give that book to every one of your constituents so they can read about it.
I won't be doing that.
That's their loss.
During your Senate confirmation hearings, you repeatedly denied having any involvement as a private citizen in the firing of FBI officials who engaged in the prosecution against January 6 insurrectionists, the violent rioters who beat and killed Capitol police officers, and who...
Let's remind everyone now that not one Capitol police officer died as a result of any injuries from January 6th.
So, well, hang on. Can we go just one step further? Now, granted, you'll have to go back into my archives from, I think, November or December of last year. But if you go back, you can find a show where I show the radio traffic that indicates radio traffic from dispatch to police officers indicating they were the ones that started escalating the situation. Video footage with the same damn thing showing it was the cops that started putting their hands all over people because they were getting too close to the barricade. Not because they'd crossed it yet, but because they were getting too close to it. Giant pepper spray canisters going off all over the place because they were too close to the barriers. No, none of our people started this stuff. And if you take into account the very careful wording of the former FBI director who said, well, we didn't have any employees there, but I can't confirm or deny whether we had any assets there.
Yeah, sure. And Ross, can you remind me of the only person who did lose their life on January 6th?
An unarmed white female Air Force veteran named Ashley Babbitt, murdered, not alleged, I saw it on television with my own eyes, murdered by a Capitol police officer with a shady track record of his own with his firearm.
Let's continue on.
You referred to as political prisoners. Since then, multiple whistleblowers have come forward, and we know that you likely committed perjury. At the same hearing, you claimed you were not familiar with Stu Peters, an anti-Semitic Holocaust denier, despite the fact that you appeared on Mr. Peters' podcast 8 separate times. 8 times. And you claimed not to recall. Mr. Patel, my second question is, should we worry more about your memory or your veracity?
We should worry more about your lack of candor. You're accusing me of committing
Veracity?
perjury. Tell the American
You didn't
people how
know?
I broke the law and committed a felony.
You did
Have the audacity to actually
No,
put the
all
facts
right, then
forward
the answer is
instead of
both.
lying for political banter so you can have a 20-second
answer
donation hit.
The answer is both. I believe that the
The
men and
answer is
women of
you're
the
failing, not
I
me.
reclaim my time.
Go ahead.
Get him, Cash.
Mr. Patel.
Dude,
I
I'm starting to
believe-
like Cash more and more.
I mean, after that answer, I mean, we always talk about how Republicans don't have any backbone. Ross, I think Cash Patel has shown quite a bit of backbone going back at Congresswoman Dean here, who was just spreading all misinformation and shaded facts and things that a fact checker would have, a true fact checker would actually have a field day with.
Yeah, bro, don't give Republicans too much credit yet. Cash is a stand-up guy, but there's plenty of Republicans with no backbone, including Tillis from North Carolina, and there's gonna be more to follow on him in the coming weeks.
Oh, no, I
We have a
don't even
bunch of linguini-spined Republicans running around, so I give them no credit.
I agree with that. I'm giving this man credit, though, because this
Cash,
is the
yes.
first time I'm seeing someone actually go back at these bad faith questions, and the ending is just as good.
And I just want to say one other thing, Gene, before you go. So you had mentioned how they kind of bloviate, and it is their time, right? These people in the House, they get like 5 minutes they're supposed to ask questions, or they could just pontificate for the whole 5 minutes. But what I will say is, when you're dealing with like a real person, like a Cash Patel, whenever you're bored, go down a YouTube rabbit hole and watch confirmation hearings. Whenever a Democrat is getting questioned by a Republican and they don't want to answer a question, they always say, they speak slowly and they say, thank you very much, Senator or Congressman. I am very thankful for that question, no matter what the question was, right? Because if they get 5 questions and they say that stupid line 5 times in 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or 5 minutes, how much time the representative has to speak, they eat up a minute or two with that stupid preface, right? But a guy like Cash Patel doesn't need to do that. He wants to speak, and they won't let him.
Absolutely. I agree with that. All right. So having watched this clip already, the fireworks are still going to be going off here.
The members of the FBI, and I know many of them, many retired, 38,000 people, as you say, it's a little less than that now, deserve the very best, deserve extraordinary independence, deserve freedom from the fears of being investigated, the freedom of coming forward to make sure they're doing their job. And I'll end with this, that I think it's interesting that in your proposal today, you find yourself at a gulf of difference between you and the president. I wonder how you will resolve that. Will you go to the president and say, we need $11.2 billion, not what you cut out of here? You're asking for more than $1 billion than the president's request. Are you going to go to the president and straighten out that gulf?
I'll do what I've always done and represent the American people, defend this country, and make sure the Constitution is always upheld and the FBI is never weaponized. Maybe you should do the same.
Oof.
So you agree with the president when he says he doesn't know if he should uphold his constitutional duty?
If you want to just keep putting words in my mouth, the TV cameras are outside.
Yes.
I thank you. I yield back. Again, this is an unserious moment, sadly, for the FBI. I yield back.
More so for you.
Mr. Strong.
Ooh.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Reaction, Rick.
God would. Just saying. Holy crap. Wow. No,
Rick
that's
has never loved a man more in his life than he does at this moment.
and I'm not even being gay about it. I'm just saying, holy crap. But no, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things because it's not something you normally see a Republican do. And I get it. Kash Patel is not a normal Republican. Donald Trump is not a normal Republican. But this is something that I wish the Republican Party would wake up and smell the coffee about because we're done and tired of normal Republicans. Normal Republicans have gotten us in to all of these messes because they've just rolled over while the people behind the scenes have done whatever the hell they wanted to do because they've been getting money from it too. So I'm really glad to see Kash Patel punching back because this is what we voted for, is for people being held accountable, things actually starting to be changed, and for people to not just stand there and take it on ceremony while these fucking grandstanders just bloviate for 6, 7, 8 minutes at a time and not be called out for their BS. It was glorious. And for once, I'm kind of glad I didn't see it first because I've enjoyed every second of this. Because normally I've already seen something like 3 or 4 times before you guys talk about it.
Yeah, this came out mid to late afternoon, so I knew we'd probably be one of the first ones to talk about it. Ross,
Yeah.
what'd you think of it?
And I think like Rick nailed it, right? Like he's not your normal Republican, but hopefully some Republicans watch this stuff and grow a spine, right? Because when you're talking to the left, the hard radical left, which is the majority of the Democratic Party now, right? That's why they lost Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, and a bunch of other people, Elon Musk. They're not serious people, right? So we should not treat them like serious people. This is the party of defund the police, right? That was like not that long ago. I don't have amnesia. It was not long ago. This is the party of can't define what a woman is and think men should be allowed to play in women's sports. This is the party that thinks grandmothers should be in frontline combat infantry units, right? Like these are not serious people, and they should never be treated with respect or in any serious way. Good job, Kash. Call them out.
If you like that clip from our new show, Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.